This video is a short extract from a webinar I did called Building a Resilient and Enduring Organization. In this extract, I just highlight the key points, an overview of how to go about building a resilient and enduring organization.
So it's true to say that for any organization to be resilient and enduring, it needs two things. It needs to be both smart and it needs to be healthy. So what do I mean by smart? This goes without saying. It needs a product or service that meets a need. It needs to have a great strategy and a marketing plan. Its finances need to be in order. And of course, it needs to harness the power of technology. That goes without saying. And that is not the focus of this webinar. But not only that, for a resilient and enduring organization, it also needs to be healthy. And by that, I mean minimal politics and confusion. There needs to be clarity throughout the organization versus confusion. And we're going to discuss what that means. Morale needs to be high, productivity needs to be high, and staff turnover needs to be low. Now, most organizations I come across are most definitely smart enough, but they are not necessarily healthy. And in the last decade that I've been working with organizations to build healthy culture, I have noticed that healthy organizations make better decisions, both in the good times and in the difficult times. Now, right now, decision science is tough. We are all dealing with so much uncertainty. In other words, the smart part of building a resilient and enduring organization is tough. But even at a time like now, in a time of great uncertainty, any organization can focus on building a healthy culture. And although it is simple, it is definitely not easy. What are the 4 disciplines of a healthy culture? The first is that they should build cohesive teams. And the most important cohesive team to build is the leadership team. Start with the leadership team. The second discipline is to create clarity around 6 critical areas, which I will unpack later. The third discipline is to over-communicate that clarity, especially at a time like this where there is just so much uncertainty. And the fourth discipline is to reinforce that clarity within every system or process involving people. Just enough structure, just enough to reinforce that clarity.
Jumping ahead to discipline number 2, creating clarity. What does that mean?
Now, this is about intellectual alignment around 6 critical areas or organizational principles. And the first of those is understanding, why do we as an organization exist? In other words, what is our purpose? Now, Jim Collins and Jerry Porras introduced the idea of purpose in their great book, Built to Last. They said that successful and enduring organizations understand the fundamental reason they were founded and why they exist, and they stay true to that reason. They said that knowing their purpose helps an organization avoid losing its way. Now, it's not, this idea of purpose or why we exist is not about what an organization does, but why it does it. It acts as a compass, it gives direction, it guides decision making at all levels throughout the organization. It shapes strategy, it sets priorities, it removes silos and gets everybody working off the same song sheet. And it serves as an aid for recruitment, making it easier to get the right people on board, people who believe in what the business does and how they can personally contribute, who reflect what is best about the organization and who are motivated, engaged, and productive. Now, the second area that requires clarity is this idea of, how is it that we behave? In other words, what are our values? What is it that is most important to us? Now, a lot of organizations make the mistake of having a list of, 6 to 10 values up on their wall, never to be discussed again. But I'm talking about 2 to 3 differentiating core values, those things you're not prepared to compromise on. Okay, those things that become the ultimate guide for employee behavior and decision making at all levels within the business, regardless of what the business does. Now, having these 2 to 3 defining values reduces the need for inefficient and demoralizing micromanagement because they provide the boundaries within which your employees can operate. They define your organization's personality and therefore uniquely set it apart from its competitors. And it makes recruitment easier and more effective. Now, your values and your purpose should never change as an organization. And the third area where we want clarity is around what is it that we actually do. This is probably the easiest area to gain clarity around. This is the idea of business definition. In other words, what business are we in? And I really don't need to say much more. Are we in the fast moving consumer goods market? Or are we in financial services? Are we in the restaurant business? What business are we actually in? What are we doing? The fourth question that requires clarity is how will we succeed? And this is the idea of strategy, okay, where it's about having three strategic anchors or the three most intentional things you do that will make your organization successful and differentiate you from your competitors. Okay, whether it's keeping costs low, running on time, and having loyal customers, and using that as the framework within which you make every decision. Okay, and the fifth question that requires clarity is what is most important to the organization right now? Not within the next 12 months, but right now, within the next 3 to 6 months. Particularly now at a time like this, during this pandemic, it has become more important than ever for an organization to be very clear on what is most important right now. It's the rallying cry or the wildly important goal, that one thing that is going to make a significant difference to the organization if it was achieved within the next 3 to 6 months. Knowing this prevents silos, it brings everybody together. And the last thing that requires clarity is who does what around that previous question of what is most important. Is everybody clear who is going to do what in order to achieve that wildly important goal, that rallying cry, that thing that is most important to the organization? And as I said, out of those six, purpose and values never change. The business definition may change. And, the idea of strategy and what is most important and who does what, those change a lot. A lack of clarity breaks organizations apart. Now, healthy organizations have a high degree of clarity and are more resilient as a result.